Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today, we have one that you guys have really requested, and thank you very much to my good friend David for loaning this to me. It is the SOG Pentagon OTF. This is a brand new dagger-style double-edge OTF from Studies and Observations Group. I guess that's what they want to be called now. Maybe they've given up on that by now. I know for like last year there was a big push to everybody have them call them that. I don't think it stuck. But anyway, you guys really wanted to see it. It wasn't one that I was going to go out and snap up, but I got a loaner, and I do very much appreciate that. What you're getting here, pretty freaking high end for SOG. It is S35 VN steel. It is a double action OTF. They really worked very hard on the action on this to get pretty much as close as they could to zero blade play. We'll talk more about that. It is a stainless steel, pretty heavy duty construction, G10 handles, and it is $349, which most expensive SOG that I recall. Maybe there's been something else, but I'm not sure. I do like the look of it, but I will say it does look familiar. I'm not at all saying it's a copy or anything like that, but it does look a lot like a Grant and Gavin Hawk Deadlock to me. As soon as I saw it, I thought it looked like that. And they also claim zero blade play, and I think they actually do have zero blade play, but that's a really hard thing to do, and a Hawk is a lot of money. So I think they just came out with a new very cheap one that's a grand. So still, they did do a pretty good job with the blade plate. There is very little, I will say. There's still just a hair bit, but I will admit they did a darn good job with that. It is pretty impressive that they managed to get that little bit of blade play. Not too bad. Is that important enough to spend $350 on? We'll talk more about that as we go on. But pretty cool looking knife. It does only come in this double edge dagger style blade. Only comes in this black coated blade. It only comes in this all blacked out version, but unsurprising from SOG, they just do one configuration. This isn't Microtech that's going to do a bazillion different configurations. But let's do some specs and size comparisons before we get too much farther. This is a big boy. You have a 3 3/4 inch blade, overall length of 9 inches, blade thickness pretty slim, 0.13 inches, handle thickness 0.59 inches, and a weight, according to my scales, of 6.5 ounces. So again, that stainless steel frame, it's pretty heavy. Let's do some size comparisons with our usuals, and then I'll bring out some more automatics. So we have the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, significantly longer than that. We're going to skip over the smaller ones of our comparison duos because obviously it's a lot bigger than those. As I bump the camera, we have the Benchmade 940. So you can see it's a big boy, and we'll bring out the Civivi Backlash. Not going to bother bringing out the Elementum. Just trust me, it's a lot bigger than that. I usually try and line up the pivots, but it doesn't really have a pivot, so we're just going to kind of center them. And, oh, why not? We'll bring out the Ontario Rat Model 1, which is a really good size knife, and this is still just a hair longer than that. Now, let's bring out some other OTFs, which are Microtechs, because that's mostly what I own. I do have one Guardian, but this is a lot bigger than that. So we have probably the most apt comparison I have. This is the Microtech Combat Trudon. This is the Hellhound blade. You can see it's a very similar in overall length to that. If you remove the glass breaker aspect, it's just a hair smaller than a Combat Trudon. This is it against the regular Trudon, which is purple and blends in, but there you have it. And we'll remove the Trudon for a moment and bring out the Ultratech, kind of the Microtech. Just a little bit longer than an Ultratech. So the blade on this thing, S35 VN. I've had a little bit of experience with SOG's S35 VN in the Terminus. It was fine. I don't think it was like the best performing S35 VN I've seen, but it was completely fine. Not too bad behind the edge for, you know, this dagger style blade. 26 thousandths behind the edge. It's not screaming thin behind the edge, but in my experience, daggers rarely are. So no real issues there. Mine came pretty sharp out of the box. I have seen anecdotally some complaints about the sharpening out of the box, but this one's pretty good. I'm actually pretty impressed with the sharpening on it. It's not too bad at all. And again, this was sent to somebody else before me, so this was not an incident of, SOG making sure I got a good one. It isn't bad at all. As far as the ergos go, I will say the ergos are pretty freaking fantastic. It is super comfortable. It's a big knife. It's not too hard to get ergos right, but this is really, really good. The pocket clip, which we'll talk more about, it's a little small, but it does help with the ergos. I don't notice this pocket clip at all. It has a nice deep carry clip. It is pretty small, but it don't really, I mean, you can feel that it's there, but it's comfortable. Yeah, not too bad at all. And in these little cutouts, it's just ergonomically, it's really freaking good. Nice and grippy. Yeah, it ain't going anywhere. Definitely, as far as that goes, if you are using it in kind of a tactical sort of role, you're going to really appreciate that. Or if you're working with gloves on or whatever. Yeah, pretty darn good. Pretty darn good, I do have to say. Now, as far as the carry goes, let's bring out Yo Levi's. Again, G10's pretty grippy, but it's not a pocket destroyer as far as putting, the clip on and on. The tension on it's really good. I never felt like I never had this fly out of my pocket or anything, but I don't know. With the knife being this big and weighing this much, I would kind of appreciate a little bit more pocket clip just for peace of mind. Again, was never an issue. As SOG always does, it has a little SOG logo on it, but it's not as obtrusive as a lot of theirs are. It's not like milled into it or anything like that, so I'm not gonna whine about that. And it does. It's an OTF. It's fairly slim. It's easy to get your hand past and all that, especially for the size that it is. Obviously, no flipper tab or anything sticking out. It carries fine, again, but it's heavy. 6.5 ounces. That's a lot more than the Combat Trudon. We'll talk about that as we get to the conclusions. Action on it, again, excellent. It is very good. I do have to say, spring tension is great. The amount of effort you have to put on it is perfect. It is outstanding to fidget with, and again, they did a pretty darn good job with that blade play thing. OTFs have blade play unless, again, you're getting a Hawk that's, the cheapest $1,000. There's just a tiny bit. It's better? Is it better than like a Microtech? Yep, I will say it is. There is a lot less blade play than there is in a Microtech. Is the action better than a Microtech? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, it probably is. It does feel smoother. I would still say as far as smoothness goes, I prefer like a Guardian Tactical, but it does feel smoother than a Microtech. Yeah, so good job there. Can't complain about the action at all. I think they definitely hit what they were trying to do as far as that goes. So what is my conclusion? It's $350. I'm going to flash up a picture here as I'm talking of a Microtech called the Dirac, which I do not have. It's $340. And it's a Microtech. Is it as easy to get as one of these? Oh, no, well, for sure not. But it's a Microtech. And to compare it, so I'm just going to bring out the Hellhound here. Again, there's more blade play, but it's still a perfectly acceptable amount. Again, most OTFs have it. The action's a little stiffer, but this is $500, so this isn't quite a comparison. But the Dirac is the same kind of build quality as this. Even at $500, would I rather have $500 on a? This one's a lot because it's the Hellhound. This one's like $6 something, but a base Combat Trudon about $500. Would I rather spend $150 more and have a Microtech over this SOG? Yeah, I would. You get a lot better blade steel. I think overall, this doesn't feel like there's anything wrong with it production-wise, but it doesn't feel like this. It just quality-wise, it just doesn't feel like a Microtech. And the Dirac, again, is $10 cheaper than this. Similar size, same kind of thing. You can only get double-edged blades, fire button on the side, just like this. Yeah. I don't see spending $350 on a SOG. SOG is doing some great stuff. Don't get me wrong. They've gotten a lot better. I definitely appreciate it. The Terminus is a great knife. I think they've done a lot of cool stuff, but I don't think, brand-wise, they're in $350 category yet. Not when you can get a Durac for less than that. If you're patient and want to wait a while, I just don't see it. It does feel really heavy duty. Maybe even it feels a bit. No, it doesn't. I want to say it feels sturdier than a Microtech, but it doesn't. It just feels heavier. Maybe that's why. And it's significantly heavier. This is 6.5 ounces. The Dirac, I believe, is like 4.1 ounces. And even the Combat Trudon, hello, on the scale. So again, just verify that. 6.49. Even the Combat Trudon is 5.6. That's enough that you're going to notice it. Again, this is all aluminum construction. Maybe you really want the G10, but I don't get it. I do think they're probably going to sell a lot of these, probably to, law enforcement and military and stuff like that, but because I think, they kind of have, hookups with some of them, but it's not a bad knife at all. If it was $250, I would be singing its praises, even a lot more, preferably if it was like $200, but just the blade steel is okay. It's not amazing. It's heavy. The action, though, they did do a very good job on, I will say. I hope this trickles down to less expensive models. I will say that they did a great job as far as eliminating most of the blade play, getting a really smooth, consistent action. They did a great job there, but yeah, I don't get it. And also, being me, I'd prefer it was available in a single edge. I'm not a big fan of daggers. They make a lot more sense in OTFs than they do in other knives, but still, yeah, I can't recommend it for $349. It just doesn't. At the end of the day, it does not feel like $349. Forget the label that's on it. Forget the brand name. It doesn't feel like $349. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.